Hey everybody, I'm Ethan.
I'm Ryan.
This is the Magical Express,
where we bring the Disney magic to you. Alright guys, well welcome to the first video on this channel. What we want this channel to be is a little bit of everything involving Disney. So Disney news, movie reviews, critiques, ideas, just kind of a little bit of everything, an assortment of Disney. But this week what we're going to do is we're going to start off with something pretty big that actually just came out last night. And Ethan, what is that?
That was Aladdin. Now, Aladdin has been marred with uncertainty, a little general negativity, and Will Smith is the genie.
He is, and he's very blue.
He is very blue. He's like Sonic the Hedgehog, but Will Smith. With that in mind, we went into Aladdin, I would say, if I can speak for you, pretty low expectations.
Very low. Well, before we even get into that, what are your thoughts on like the original Aladdin?
I think Aladdin's a top 10. I love Aladdin. I think Robin Williams' Genie is one of just the greatest characters in the animated Disney movies ever. Like, it's just so amazing what they did. Music was great. Even the music that didn't make the movie and that went to Broadway was fantastic. It was just a really good story that, in my opinion, should be made again, and I thought they did a good job of that.
I actually have a different opinion.
Well,
I'm not a huge fan of Aladdin, just in general.
That's sad.
I think it's a fun movie. Robin Williams is one of my all-time favorite actors just in general, so I do love his interpretation of the genie in that original cartoon.
I mean, it's no flubber, but it is good.
You're absolutely right. But if we're talking like broad scheme of Disney animated classics, I don't think it touches my top 10.
Okay, and that's
so
fine.
I went in probably with even lower expectations than you did, just because as a whole, I'm not the biggest fan.
Yeah, and that's the thing. With Aladdin, the music is so important. And so my expectations were a little lower just based off what we've seen in the past.
Sure.
Beauty and the Beast, I thought it was a nice looking movie, very auto-tuned. Others in this new realm, I guess, the musical genre is a tougher one to do. I thought The Jungle Book was great. I thought it was beautiful. I've heard nothing but good things about Dumbo. You said you really enjoyed that as well,
Yeah,
right?
Dumbo I thought was great. Another classic that I think is important if we're looking at the catalog of animated movies, but not my all-time favorite. I thought the movie was very fun. I think Jungle Book as a whole is a better movie, but I would place Dumbo in between Beauty and the Beast and Jungle Book.
Really?
I think it's definitely better than Beauty and the Beast, not quite as good as Jungle Book, which left Aladdin a lot of room kind of to come in and make its own name.
So I would say if I was going to break down Aladdin, just in my quick day after thoughts, the number one thing that stood out to me was Nasim Pedrad. Previous Saturday Night Live cast member, she plays the hand to the princess, and she honestly stole the show for me. She was the funniest person in the movie. I don't know if it was the writing or just her acting. She was great.
To me, her entrance into the film is really where it flipped the switch for me.
Yeah.
About 20 minutes into the movie, I actually kind of hated it. And I'm glad we haven't talked about it until right now, because 20 minutes in, I was disengaged, was really let down, and thought, okay, this is about what I anticipated.
Funny enough, my wife, Brooke, said the same thing. She came home, and the first thing was, for the first 15 minutes, I was just bored.
100%.
And when it switched, whatever that might have been, my guess is it's around the time that Jasmine and that whole side's brought into the table, but also, Aladdin's first big breakout scene. It's just not what you'd expect, and it's not, I don't know. It didn't quite get my attention as much as I'd like it to.
Right, and I think maybe some of that was, if we're looking at all the major players in the movie, Aladdin wasn't one of the strongest ones.
For sure.
In a movie called Aladdin, you would anticipate him to kind of carry it. And really, that wasn't the case. To me, it was Nasim Pedrad's character, Jasmine, and Genie were really the three that kind of carried it.
Naomi Scott as Jasmine was fantastic. And in terms of the music, she was the only person I thought that did justice to the original.
I'd agree with that.
Aladdin wasn't bad. Will Smith, it's just different, I guess is the best way to say it. But in terms of straight music, Jasmine was great. But I gotta add, the only part of the movie that really did bug me, and there's nothing wrong with this, and I guess this was just Guy Ritchie's whatever, but Jasmine has a few little breakout songs that are very, I don't know, over dramatic solos. Does that make sense?
Right. I mean, that kind of was the case a little bit in the Beauty and the Beast movie too, with some of Belle's scenes. This one I didn't feel like it was as forced, but definitely if you're only used to the animated Aladdin classic, it felt a little out of place.
And it's a lot of the things too that you just kind of lose, I guess, going from animation to CGI in real life, and even things like Abu, who is very lovable, funny character in the animated film. It's a little weirder when it's a real monkey, trying to do
real monkey,
the hijinks and the fun stuff. And I don't know. So overall, if you were to rate Aladdin out of 10, what would you give it?
I would probably give it maybe a 6.5, pushing 7. I thought it had some really high marks. I thought Will Smith was, and I was guilty of this, was unnecessarily criticized going into the movie.
And a lot of that was just that teaser trailer where he looked so off proportion.
Well, and even the intro to the entrance into Agrabah with Genie in that teaser didn't really do his portrayal justice. I thought they did a really great job. Really, the only two things for me that really stood out as negatives, I didn't think Aladdin was as strong as he could have been.
Agreed.
And there was a lack of menace or of fear from Jafar.
That was a big one, too.
I thought they did a good job of his hunger for power and things like that, but I never found him to be menacing or scary.
He didn't have the low, dark...
Right. It was really kind of a letdown for me.
It was more of like a sneaky bad guy than I'm terrified of you.
And
so I can see
one of the things that I look at the original Aladdin, I think Jafar's a great bad guy.
And Iago, as well, as kind of the henchman, is perfect.
And so if that's what you're anticipating, that's not what you're going to get in this movie.
It's a big shift.
I would say, if I had to give it a score, if we're talking reality, 6.5. If I'm feeling a little generous, maybe pushing 7. But right around that.
Bumps it up to a 7.
Right.
Yeah, I would say I didn't like it as much as The Jungle Book. But I also thought The Jungle Book, one of the first big pushes into redoing these animated classics, was just so brilliant. You didn't have to rely too much on music. A lot of it was just the look. Yeah. And it was one boy in an entire world, basically, of CGI. Versus here, you're shifting it up a little bit. You're putting a few very important CGI characters into real settings with a lot of real characters, and it throws it off a little bit. So I didn't think it was quite as good. I thought it was on par with Beauty and the Beast, maybe a little better. And overall, though, better than I expected, which I think is the best thing I can say. There was a lot of unnecessary hate going in.
Absolutely.
A lot of
guilty.
No-name, in a sense. I would say actors and actresses involved outside of Will Smith, and so, I mean, Jafar alone. You would expect them to go find someone that's a household name to play this key role.
Right, somebody who's going to carry the weight of that
They went more on fit and look, which I appreciated, because it felt like that's how it should have been. But overall, Aladdin was great. Really excited to see what they do with these other remakes of the animated classics. We're going to talk about that soon, of other movies that are on the docket, other movies that we grew up with. You might have grown up with, and are now being reimagined for these theatrical releases, maybe for you again, maybe for your kids. And looking to see what's coming ahead and what we can kind of expect based off what we've seen. So again, I'm Ethan.
I'm Ryan.
And this has been The Magical Express.